Welcome back to Mac Stories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees. With me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. You know, you were watching TV the other night. You saw one of my favorite topics I saw.
I was watching Italian TV. So in Italy, I think I mentioned this before. We have really let's say 9 main channels on the over the air TV, and one of them, channel 5, they do the news at specific times of the day. Like they have the morning news, and then they have the lunch break news, and then they have the evening news and the night edition. And in the night edition, so it was very late in the night edition, at some point I hear the guy mention, and now we turn to a particular event happening soon in the United States. There's gonna be this invasion of cicadas, and I couldn't believe that was literally what you taught me many months ago,
Right.
much to my desperation, because it was a horrible segment, horrible description of what's gonna happen in Illinois with this, basically like this very rare event of these two, what do you call them, like two waves
They're
of
called
cicadas.
broods.
Oh my God! Yes, of cicadas sort of
Yes.
coming out of the ground at the same time, and like the fact that the two are happening at the same time is like a rare occurrence that happens every 200 years or something.
Something like
And
that. It's been a very long
and
time.
and yeah, so they were talking on the Italian TV about the cicadas, and they were showing this gross pictures of how many they are and what they look like, and I just took a picture and sent it to you, and I told you they're talking about the cicadas on Italian TV, and there was just the text.
They had a good picture. They had a nice big close-up of one of them. They have these big
Yeah.
red beady eyes, and they make a lot of
Mm,
noise.
mm.
And it's not just Illinois. I mean, it's the entire Midwest and stretching into the eastern United States. When the ground temperature, I guess, gets up to about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which it isn't yet, I don't believe. I mean, it's still too close to winter. It takes a while for the ground to warm up. But once the ground warms up, they crawl out of the ground, leaving these little holes, and then they climb up the trees and they attach themselves to the trees. And then they come out of their shells and their wings expand and they fly around a lot. And I don't know, they make it miserable to be outdoors. I'm hoping there aren't any around here because it was horrible when we were living in Illinois. We actually, Jennifer reminded me that this summer, the last time we experienced this was the year that the iPhone came out, I think. It was in 2007. And we actually went on a vacation and got to miss a bunch of the cicadas. It was bad as it was, but they're around for about 6 weeks, I think, before they all just kind of die off and leave all these giant husks of bugs all over the ground.
Great. That is just so great
I
to
just
hear.
wanted to really paint you a picture for that.
Yeah.
Federico.
Thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
it. That is
So,
great.
so
Yeah.
you know, we share a lot of good photography. We share pictures of our TVs with cicadas on them. I shared with you a drink I had, a beverage I had yesterday. I was sitting outside at a local coffee shop because I was just soaking in the sun and basking in the fact that I knew that back in my old stomping ground of Illinois that it was snowing all day. And it
Yeah.
was a perfect day here. It was in the 70s, maybe, I don't know, 20 Celsius or
Mm.
so. And
Okay.
I was sitting outside having an espresso soda, which is something I've never had before.
I have no idea. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea. Like you guys in America, everything is like a soda, and that is so strange for me, because like typically when we go to like a coffee shop or something, we ask for the specific brand. Like, hey, can I have a Coke, or can I have a Fanta, or can I
Right.
have a Sprite? Like we don't like, what is a soda,
Well,
really?
this is different than that in that this was made very much like a cocktail is made. It wasn't an alcoholic drink, but it was
Okay.
soda water like you would use for a mixed drink. It-
Oh, okay.
all
So
right.
like, okay, soda water. Okay, all right, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. So it was fizzy. It was bubbly water. It was that ice, and they poured like a shot of espresso over it. And it was pretty simple, but they made it with a lot of care, as the baristas tend to do at a good coffee shop. And they poured the coffee in there. So it was a little bit like an iced coffee with bubbles in it, which I kind of liked. I'd never had one before. I thought it was tasty.
Hmm. I this seems to be something that comes from the United States. I googled espresso soda Italia, so hoping that I would find some Italian results. I
Uh-huh.
cannot find any Italian results, but I do see So there's one article from 2018 in Italian, and it says it's something that originated as sparkling coffee, which seems like
That's
an
effectively
accurate
what this
name.
was. Yeah.
Um, and there's another article in English that says the coffee soda is a drink invented in Calabria in the early 40s. So Calabria is one
Oh,
of the southern regions of Italy.
right, right.
I don't believe this website. Like
You
we have the
don't?
cold like in southern Italy it's really popular, like the cold coffee in the
Sure.
like the cold espresso in the
Because it's
summer.
very hot down there.
Yeah, it is. But it says
Gets
that
hot
it
in
was
Rome too, for that matter. But hey,
invented in the provinces of Catanzaro and Cosenza. Interesting. Okay, I should ask. I have a friend from Cosenza. I can
okay.
ask him.
Yeah,
It's just
I'd like to get some follow up on that because this was my first time. I just went down there. I'd had some coffee in the morning, and I thought, when I go and hang out at this coffee shop, I don't like to just go there and hang out and pull out my laptop and start working. I feel like I ought to at least buy something when I'm there. So I wanted something other than just a straight up coffee or espresso or whatever it was. And I was a little warm because it was warm outside, and I'd walked down there. So I got the espresso soda, and it was refreshing.
nice, nice. I mean, you have had worse things for
I
sure.
have. I have had
So
many worse things. Oftentimes with Rob Knight on Ruminate, we compare notes about all kinds of very odd snacks that we have had. In the most recent episode, I tried pickle flavored almonds. I don't know if you've listened
no,
yet.
no, no.
That's why the episode is called A Dusting of Dill, because they had this
Mm,
dusting of flavoring on them that was dill pickle, and they were actually quite good, Federico. They were better than most of the things I try for ruminate.
hmm. Okay, I'm behind on the episode, so I should listen. Um,
That was a
all
good
right.
one. It was a
Well,
good episode, I think. Everybody
all
should check it
right.
out. We'll put it in the show notes. That's my cross
Okay.
promotion for today, Tichi. We gotta go
Well
to
done.
picks though. We got picks here today.
All right. So my pick is a video game, and I told you this was on deck for me. I've been playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and I cannot stop thinking about this game or playing this game for that matter. So I posted on Threads that I was 5 hours into Dragon's Dogma, and I still didn't know if I actually liked the game
I
or if
saw
it was
that.
for
Yes.
me. And I'm here to tell you that not only do I like this game, but this game feels made specifically for somebody like me. And the guys at Into the Aether, the excellent video game podcast by Steven and Brandon, they just did an episode all about Dragon's Dogma, so I really
Hmm.
recommend listening to that one. You can also find podcast episodes about Dragon's Dogma from the Besties or Triple Click, which are my two other favorite shows. So for context, this is a game by Capcom and it's multi-platform. I've been playing on PC.
Okay.
I never played the original Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma, the first one, was kind of a cult hit. It came out on the Xbox 360, so we're talking here like a long way back.
Yeah.
And it was in the news again in 2017, I believe, when the Nintendo Switch launched, because a special edition version came out on the Nintendo Switch. I'm actually not sure if it was 2017, but it launched on the Switch. This is a successor to that Dragon's Dogma, and I never played the original. So I went into this game thinking I have no idea what to expect. From outside, you look at a trailer, you look at screenshots, and it kind of looks like Capcom just made its own version of Elden Ring. And that was sort of what I was expecting. Sort of medieval, like
Yeah,
gothic
exactly. That's kind of
vibe.
was my impression too when I looked at it. I thought, is this like Elden Ring? Especially, I know they talked about that a little bit on Into the Aether too.
Right. So it looks like Elden Ring, but it doesn't play or doesn't feel like Elden Ring at all.
Okay.
So this is an action RPG. You pick a character. They have the best character creation tool I've ever seen in a video game. It's wild how you can customize your characters and the details that they make available to you, and how intuitive it is to make a character look like whatever you want. It's really,
Uh-huh.
really remarkable. You play as the Arisen, and the Arisen is this mythical figure who can who can communicate and can control these other characters called pawns. Pawns, they come from this sort of limbo universe called the Rift. Now, I'm less than 10 hours into the game, so I'm sure there's some lore or additional backstory that I'm missing so far in this point of my playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, you as the Arisen, you get to control this party of pawns. And these pawns, they can be different characters made by Capcom. So you start the game and you can make your main pawn, which is the sort of the side character that follows you around the whole time. I'm playing as a female character. I created this character called Cassandra, and my main pawn is a giant dude called Dante. So I kind of wanted to go for some classic Italian names.
Sure.
And throughout the game, you can unlock more pawns, but the sort of the main gimmick that I absolutely adore is that you can hire other people's pawns. So it's kind of similar to how multiplayer works in Elden Ring, like how people can leave messages in Elden Ring. Here, people can sort of leave their pawns, and you can hire their pawns. And what's so cool about this system is that obviously each pawn can be a different vocation. Vocation being like a class, so you can have your fighter, your mage, your archer, whatever, your thief, and they each have different skills. You can only customize sort of the skill tree for your main pawn. The other pawns, you can just give them equipment, but you cannot really customize them because they've been made by other people. And at any point, you can discard them. They will go back to their original owner, creator, and you can get some other pawns. And so, for example, I hired this pawn. He's a mage, and he totally looks like Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings. And in fact, the guy who created it, the person who created it, named him Gandhi with a Y, like short for Gandalf.
Sure.
And the nickname is Ian, like Ian McKellen.
Sure, yeah.
So that was really cool. So the thing about this game is, this is a game that avoids a lot of modern mechanics from open world RPG games and sort of uses friction. It makes things more difficult than they probably are in the majority of AAA games today. And it turns that friction into its own unique flavor. It turns that friction into, it's like a flavor that you either like or hate. Like it's like a really peculiar type of ice cream, I guess. You either love it.
Is it kind of like the friction is part of the mechanic in and of itself?
The friction is part of the mechanic.
Yeah.
For example, this game doesn't really have fast travel. It does have some form of fast travel, but it's really rare to use.
It's very limited,
because
right?
It's very limited, and it requires this really expensive item that costs a lot of money. And that's because the game wants you to not fast travel. The game wants you to explore. The game wants you to go off the beaten path. The game wants you to just, for example, one of the first things you're supposed to do is you start from this town and you're supposed to go visit the capital, and you can choose, do you want to get on an ox cart to go to the capital, or do you want to walk? And I didn't know yet what to expect, but I chose to walk. And I'm so glad I did, because I was able to find my way to the capital in a way that is so unlike the majority of modern games. Like there was no indicator. Like you're supposed to find out where the capital is. And so I just assumed, I'm just going to follow this road because I assumed this is the road that the ox cart will follow.
Right.
I'm just going to assume that I'm supposed to walk here. But then I started getting lost, and I started using the horizon as my point of reference. I started looking down from this mountain, and I thought I saw this tower in the distance, and I assumed, maybe that's the capital. And so going there, I discovered a bunch of other settlements and like a waterfall and a small lake, like all things that happened sort of just organically as I was playing, and it felt so nice to have that sort of control. This is in direct contrast to, for example, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which has wholly embraced all of these modern, open world game tropes with all the indicators and Chadley constantly pestering you to complete all these side quests. Now, this is a game that has quests and side quests, but they're all done and presented to you in such a unique way, giving you that sense of liberty and freedom that it feels refreshing, to be honest.
Hmm.
And it's also a game that, and there's an excellent article about this on Aftermath, one of my recent discoveries in terms of video game publications, and I really recommend the site. Um, it's a game that wants you to make your own choices and live with the consequences of those choices, right? So, for example, once I chose to walk instead of taking the ox cart, well, now I was on my own. And so when I had to fight this ogre, like this giant ogre, now it was just me. I didn't have any other company besides me and my pawns. And the fighting system itself is incredible. For example, it's sort of inspired by Monster Hunter in a way.
Okay.
Dragon's Dogma is a game made by this dream team of like Capcom developers. Some of them worked on Devil May Cry. The game itself is made with the Resident Evil engine, so it looks absolutely beautiful. I've
Oh,
been playing on
interesting.
PC, high settings with ray tracing. It's an
Uh-huh.
incredible, beautiful game. But it's also made by some of the folks who worked on Monster Hunter. And for example, you can grab enemies if you want to throw them off balance, but you can also climb on them. So to fight that ogre, first I tried to put it off balance by grabbing one of his ankles and
Uh-huh.
just sort of dragging, and it
Yeah.
didn't work because the ogre was too heavy. And so I climbed on its back and I just started stabbing it in the back. And so everything is happening in real times, right? So it's an action RPG. There
Right.
are no turns, and in the and throughout the as you're fighting, like you can impart orders to your pawns, and the orders are very simple. Like you can just say go or help me or wait here, and that gives them like a basic instruction set in terms of what they're supposed to
Right.
use.
Right.
Um, so and the other thing I want to mention, so this sense of freedom, the lack of guidance and the lack of like fast travel and all these modern quality of life features, they don't, at least for me, and I know this is it's a very divisive game, I guess, but for me it sort of gives me back that sense of exploration that I maybe last felt with Breath of the Wild, and to an extent Elden Ring. But you never feel safe when exploring Elden Ring. And also Elden
Right.
Ring is much more about the combat. It's not really about enjoying the exploration. Here, that equation is sort of going in the other direction. It's more about the exploration and then the combat. And
Okay.
that there are so many little touches throughout the entire experience. Like honestly, like the pawns are the main characters of this game, and it's so funny because I think like it's also like not a game that takes itself too seriously. And I was listening to Brandon and Steven mention how Capcom must have embraced sort of all the memes and the camp that sort of
Right.
happened with the first Dragon Dogma. Like all these pawns, they have this ridiculous like sort of medieval British accents.
Uh-huh.
And like my guy Dante talks in such a ridiculous way that every time he opens his mouth, I just start laughing. Like I don't even know how to imitate it because I can't make that accent. But he uses this very strong like R sound,
Mm-hmm.
like ooh, like for example, he says, "Ooh, I think I have found some treasure," and
Oh.
like it sounds incredibly ridiculous. And the pawns, they keep talking, like, and they talk to each other and they talk to you. And something also cool that they do is sometimes a pawn will just say, a reason I will remember this. And when they say that, it means that maybe they have discovered something like a treasure chest or like a
Okay.
path. And once they go back to their world, to their arisen, they will keep that information. And so when the person is traveling with that pawn will maybe tell them, hey, look here, I know that there's a treasure chest because I've been here before.
Oh,
So
all right. That's cool. That's a cool way to do multiplayer in a way that's
yeah,
very low key. Yeah.
I am now so compelled to see this game through and to keep playing the game. I can say with confidence, it's unlike anything else I've ever played. Like it feels like, something in between Elden Ring, and because of the setting, and Zelda because of the exploration, and the Final Fantasy game because of the class management and the inventory management.
Right.
It's it's I it's a taste, it's a vibe, and you gotta be along for the ride. And so I am also absolutely loving it.
Wow. Wow. Maybe I've prejudged this a little bit because this does sound kind of interesting to me, especially exploration part of it to me
Yeah.
really is I love that kind of stuff with
Yeah, there is a main quest, and especially once you get to the capital, there's the leader of the guard that assigns you these three specific quests. So
uh-huh,
there is a unlike Elden Ring, there is a quest menu, but it's like the map is empty. There are no hundreds of indicators like say in Final Fantasy VII or in a or in
right,
Horizon or a Ubisoft game. Like it's very open. There is a main quest that you're supposed to follow, but you can also just do whatever you want and discover
right.
things. And yeah, yeah.
That's very cool. Well, I've got a little bit of a surprise for you. I have been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I picked it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I picked it up on the Steam sale and thought, I'm going to play this on my Steam Deck a little bit. And it's not what I expected. I really enjoyed it. I think the characters are fantastic in that game. So I'm not very far into it, but it's something that my problem right now, I think, with games is that I've got too many different things that I'm kind of playing. I need to really just kind of dig in and commit
Yes.
to one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
that's kind of the story of my life these days, it feels like. But too many games, pulled too many different directions. Well, my pick this week is a movie that I just kind of fell into watching called The Creator, which I watched it streaming on Hulu. I believe it's streaming if you have that subscription, but it's also obviously available to rent on things like Apple TV Plus. But this is a movie that I remember seeing the trailer back in the day and thinking, oh, this looks like something I would like. Never saw it and never heard much more about it and thought I don't think it got fantastic reviews, but I had a great time with it. It's a little over 2 hours, and it's about a post-apocalyptic world where robot AI intelligence has taken over big parts of the world, and it's a battle between the humans and the AI, which, I suppose very appropriate for today. But what has happened is that at some point, this is all set in the future, obviously, the AI robots were, they were the good helpers. They were helping doctors with surgeries. They were looking after kids. They were helping with, helping the police. They were cleaning up the cities. They were basically the working class for this future society. And then one day, a nuclear bomb went off in Los Angeles, and it was blamed on the robots. And you don't really know whether that's true or not, but LA had been bombed, and the humans went to war, especially the United States went to war with the robots. But some of the countries in Asia were still building robots and were living kind of in coexistence with them. And so the whole setup is there are still robots around the world. They're mostly centered in Asia, and United States military is spanning the globe trying to eradicate the world of these AI robots. And they hear about a weapon that the AI robots are developing that could destroy all humanity. So they have to get to this weapon and neutralize it before that happens. And that's the setup, but it's really a story about kind of this man who is he's in the military, he's an operative trying to find, the person who's creating these robots, and a woman who he falls in love with, and their relationship. And then it follows him as he's dragged kind of back from retirement after an incident, to try to locate this AI weapon and neutralize it. And it's kind of I don't want to give away where the twists and turns go with their relationship and what happens with this weapon, but it's a really interesting commentary, I guess, on a lot of different levels about class and technology and human reliance on technology, all combined with kind of a neat action movie. So, The Creator, I think it's one
All
that's worth
right.
checking out. That might be one to put on the Federico Film Fest. I don't know, but if you can watch it, it's kind of a nice one to kick back with on the weekend.
All right.
Federico, before we go, I think we should tell people what we've got on deck. And very apropos of my comment about video games, I have two other video games that I've just been dipping into lightly so far.
Okay.
One is Pepper Grinder, which
Nice. I've been
is,
keeping an eye on this one.
yep, this is by Devolver Digital. There's a demo out that people can play. I played the day it came out. It came out about a month ago. It was part of a Nintendo Switch indie showcase. And I played it on the Switch at first, and then I downloaded it on my Steam Deck. I think I like it better on the Steam Deck. I am very leery these days about downloading anything but Nintendo games on the Switch because the hardware's so old, and I figure the Steam Deck will probably play most games better anyway. But in any event, whether that's true or not with this one, I downloaded it on the Steam Deck. I played a couple of levels so far. It's a really cool game that's got this weird mechanic where your protagonist is going through this world with basically a drill and drilling through the ground, trying to defeat various enemies, collect gems, and go from level to level. So yeah, it's a pretty neat mechanic for a platformer type game. And then Ghost Trick, which is not a new game by any stretch of the imagination, but it just got re-released on iOS. And I thought I would dip in and see what it was all about, because I've always heard good things, because it has a lineage with some of the Ace Attorney games. And I like it. It's a very strange game where you start out as a guy who's dead, and you have this, it's called Ghost Trick because you can do these tricks and try to influence the future by doing things with your powers as a ghost to influence what's happening in the world around you. And I haven't played a lot of it yet, but I like it. I think I'm going to keep playing it. How about you?
All right. Well, mostly Dragon's Dogma, but I think I'm gonna play some more Slice and Dice. So this is something that I've been playing on my
I
iPhone.
downloaded. I have not played at all yet. You like it?
It's incredibly good. So this is,
Okay.
and very addictive. So this is a dice-based roguelite.
Yeah, I downloaded it.
Yeah, so you each run you have these characters again, like a warriors, mage, archer, whatever.
Yeah.
And each move is controlled by dice roll, and you have up to 2 or 3 re-rolls on a single turn. And once you like a move that was rolled, you can assign it, and then you choose how to make your moves against the enemy waves. And it gets really tricky real quick, but it's also like incredibly well balanced on after each sort of fight. You can unlock a bonus like a new item, or maybe you can upgrade one of your characters to a new class. I completed the free demo last night, and I couldn't purchase the $9 full game quickly enough. So I think I'm gonna, and also I appreciate that you can play in portrait mode, which is incredible. I am very concerned about this new wave of roguelikes that are coming out on the iPhone, and possibly with portrait support. Like between this and Balatro coming to iOS, I am afraid. I'm scared.
I hear you. Well, I've got Balatro. I've got my Switch sitting right beside my bed, and I play a couple of rounds every night now. And even if it's just for a little while, I'm addicted to that game.
Yeah. So we'll see when it launches on iOS, and work is well underway, John, for my next surprise, which I hope will be finalized maybe next week even. We'll see.
Oh, good. I was kind of half expecting it today, but I guess you're going to make me wait a little bit. That's all right.
Just a little longer. Need to confirm a few things. Yeah.
All right. I'll try to be patient. All right. Well, that's it for today's show. You can find the two of us over at macstories.net. We're on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net and johnvorhees.macstories.net to find us there. And we're on Threads and Instagram. Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHSS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.